In today's video, I'm taking a look at the airplane crash, the airplane that landed in LaGuardia Airport and hit a fire truck on the runway. This occurred on March the 22nd at 11:36 p.m. And my hearts go out to the families of the two young pilots who were flying that plane. Obviously, an airplane landing has the right of way. Anything crossing in its way is out of right of way. Sadly, it's a tragic outcome. I did have a dream. A lot of you called me, emailed me, phone, whatever, texted me to say, oh, that sounds like the dream you shared on your channel twice, where there's an airplane coming in like this, and then the nose just dips down. And then I think I'm watching from a height. Now I think it was like air traffic control because I was at some kind of height with a big balcony. And I remember thinking this balcony is too big for an apartment. Like it's like I'm in an institutional building. And I said, fire. We had to run in because there would be a fire. Well, there wasn't any fire, but it was a fire truck. Unfortunately, when the plane came in and it landed at 93 to 100 kilometers an hour or miles an hour, I don't know which, it hit the truck and then the nose was obliterated. And when it's on the runway, it looks like a plane like this with this nose like gone. And those pilots, two pilots at the front of the plane were killed. So I think that's what my dream was about. That was on two separate videos. I'm recording this on March 25th that I put out in the last couple of weeks, telling you guys about that dream. Perhaps that exactly is what I was dreaming about. I was worried it was something worse. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is why we're doing this. Well, because I'm an asteroid hunter. I'm in love with asteroids. Mine are asteroids. I found the name of my husband, the name of my children, the name of places I've lived, the name of people I've been close to in my natal chart. You can do that. 26,000 named celestial bodies, the asteroid belt, plus the trans-Neptunians. And we have a huge amount of data. Think of the asteroids and trans-Neptunians that we've cataloged, that we've named, that we can find on free software like astro.com, which I'll be sharing with you today. Think of these pieces of the sky like you would think about like the deepest details in the algorithmic code of reality. And it's uncanny. I've got clients like two sommeliers, both of them had either Dionysius and one of them had Dionysius and Bacchus. These are the gods of wine on their midheaven. They're wine experts. That's their career. Like you can't make this stuff up. I had a client who channeled Jesus. The asteroid Jesus was on his midheaven. I had a client who channeled David Bowie. Asteroid David Bowie's on her midheaven. I mean, it goes on and on. It gets midheaven as your career point. It gets kind of nuts. In this regard, you have to go asteroid hunting. There's certain software packages that have a ton of asteroids in them usually knock for max. And, then you're going to splatter every asteroid around the chart. My friend, Gary Caton, a fellow colleague and astrologer, he's known for taking photos of the sky, and he loves to look at the real sky as well as he's an astrologer, and he has the asteroid Stargazer on his ascendant. Okay, so I have a friend of mine who has the asteroid James Bond on his ascendant. I still wondered if he worked for intelligence agencies, right? But I'm never going to know. If he told me someone would have to kill me, right? So what are you going to do there? So we're going to look at the chart. That's funny, but what happened is not funny. And yet there's some interesting sky stories to show you about that. So let's take a look at that. Let's go into our sky. I'll share this picture I took of the sky. I'm using astro.com, free software. How can you do this? You can go under this video and get my free amazing asteroids course. Over 10,000 people have taken it. In that course, I have a total teaching of how to find the asteroids in your chart. Okay, so it's that simple. It is not a big deal. Astro.com has free software, but I guide you through the process of finding it. So let's pull up the chart of the event that day. And I'm using the astro.com software because unlike my Astro Gold, which is fine for my Mac, it has a couple hundred asteroids where I've got thousands of asteroids to choose from at astro.com. So asteroid hunting is like being a detective of your sky. You're going to find what is there. So please take my free asteroid course. I think you'll truly enjoy it. All right. So hopefully I'm showing this thing to you. This is the sky at 11:36 p.m. in New York City. The airport is LaGuardia. And I thought I'd see what was going on that day. This is the whole sign house system. Please use whole sign houses. It's easier. And it's also accurate for Time Lord tools. You'll notice that I did find a name Gunther up here for an asteroid. It was Gunther something, but it was Gunther. So Gunther is on Jupiter exalted on the sun of the United States of America. U.S. sun is at 13 degrees of Cancer, and Venus and Jupiter is now at 15, and Gunther is right here as well. What I'm trying to say is that you can see that this is going to make a big splash in America, that whatever this story is about, although it was a Canadian jet, by the way, or plane from Montreal. Air Canada is with a subsidiary called Jazz. I've flown on those little planes before. I know exactly what it's like. Okay, so I look for Guardia for LaGuardia. I found Guard at 17 degrees of Leo. I don't know if you guys know anything about Leo, 20 degrees, but we're having a massive eclipse there coming up on August. It could be a foreshadow of major changes in the air traffic control system in the United States of America. It's going to boil down to a controller error, a ground controller or air traffic control error. And so I bet you that the eclipse that is going to happen on August the 20th is going to be yet another example of, like, there was a crash in the Potomac in DC, of understaffed, overworked air traffic control. And I wonder if there's going to be a push to make it an AI controlling system, air traffic control with some human oversight. I mean, why not? If you're making bombs that bomb the world based on AI and make mistakes, apparently, why not use air traffic control with AI instead of real people? I mean, unfortunately, that's maybe where we're going. Okay, so let's look at the uncanny details that I'm trying to show you. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe I can make it a bit bigger. I'm going to zoom it larger if you can handle that. View. Oh yeah, zoom in. That's a bit nicer. Okay. So what you're going to notice in the sky is you're going to see that on the day of the event, it was a Scorpio ascendant in Manhattan. New York City had a Scorpio 25-degree rising at the time of the event. That means that the event is ruled by Mars in that location. Mars is the boss of the problem. Mars is the ruler of the moment of something happening. The midheaven is at 9 degrees of the sign of Virgo. And that's slightly important because we had a 12-degree total blood moon eclipse on March the 3rd. And we're still in the month of March, in the post-eclipse energy. So a blood moon eclipse at the high noon in the chart of this event was, indicated here. So it's connected to the blood moon eclipse in Virgo. It's connected as well to the idea of Mars ruling the show on the day of the event. Where is Mars? Okay. Mars is sitting in Pisces next to Mercury. What is Mercury? Mercury is literally the announcer, the news, but Mercury would also be your air traffic control person. Why? Because somebody with a microphone, somebody guiding people verbally. Okay. So we have both Mars and Mercury together in an 8-degree separation, but they're together in the sign of Pisces. So there can be something to say about the error coming from a vocal communication or any kind of communications. Mars, of course, rules accidents, injuries, death, unaliving events. So there's a Mercury element as well here. And then you'll notice that that's Athena, goddess of strategy and knowledge and wisdom. But there's the asteroids Forrest. There are 2 Forrest asteroids. And it was a man named Antoine Forrest from Quebec who was on the plane, as well as Mackenzie Gunther. Both of them were pilots on that plane. So the 2 Forrest asteroids are literally involved with Mars, the agent of a crash on the day of this event. And you'll notice that it would be the IC here, right? The bottom of the chart opposite the MC. So Mars and Mercury are literally at the bottom of the chart, directly opposite where the eclipse happened on March the 3rd at 12 degrees of Virgo, blood moon, total eclipse. Yes, you got it. This is Icarus. What is Icarus? And this is the Vestal flame, which unfortunately, with the blood moon eclipse, makes me worried that this was a sacrifice. Now, I know you're saying, what do you mean a sacrifice? Well, without getting too dark, the demonic forces behind the scenes create human sacrifice moments for whatever reason. Let's not go there. Let's keep it simple. This is Icarus. Icarus is things that flying high close to the sun and falling from the sky. So you'll see Icarus involved with things to do with things that are potentially going to fall from the sky and cause death, right? So Icarus is the son of Daedalus, the inventor, who created the wax wings. Those wax wings would melt when the sun got close to the child of the son of Daedalus. And Daedalus and his son were imprisoned. Okay. They were in a Minotaur prison of some sort, Minoan prison, I believe. But they literally wanted, well, I don't know. I guess the invention was to escape, but the sun flew too close to the sun. The wings melted and flew. And of course, he fell from the sky. So Icarus is about things that can fly that fall from the sky. What can fly? An airplane. Did it fall from the sky? No, it was landing, but it was landing. There was some kind of confusion. Mercury is confused in the sign of Pisces. Why? Because his domain is Virgo over here. This is the details over here. This is the diligent accounting over here of what needs to be precisely communicated or spoken. Unfortunately, Mercury is very befuddled and confused, and sometimes he lies in the sign of Pisces. So the details were missing. The air traffic controller said, stop, 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 or ground controller, whatever they are. He said, stop, 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 stop. Once he realized that he told the truck to cross the runway while the plane was landing, and the truck didn't hear him or didn't have time. And the airplane braked really hard to reduce the speed at which the collision was happening. And later on, there's apparently a bit of audio where the air traffic controller says, oh man, I screwed up, to another pilot, a Delta pilot. And so all said and done, I think it's human error. And I think that's what this shows. And you see the pilot Forrest here. And I don't know why he's so highlighted with the moment of the crash. Young man, beautiful young guy, Quebecer, learned to fly bush planes. And then finally, I think he was the co-pilot on the flight. Now, Gunther, I believe, was the pilot. And here he is up here on Jupiter, which means somebody in command, right? And so there's somebody in command named Gunther with Jupiter. We're in the sign of Cancer, ruled by the moon. And there's the moon with Uranus for something shocking happening with someone named Gunther in a place of command. Then you notice the water signs, right? There's Pisces and there's Cancer. LaGuardia is on water. It's on the Hudson River. I believe it's the Hudson River, but it's on, Manhattan's an island, right? So it's surrounded by bodies of water. So we've got a commanding Gunther in charge. Jupiter is the top dog energy. And we've got ruled by the moon with your moon conjunct Uranus. Now the moon's exalted, which doesn't mean good. It just means intense, really large energy and shock and awe Uranus. And there's a star here called Algol. What is Algol? I'll tell you what Algol is. Algol is death. Algol is decapitation. The plane was decapitated. The top of the cockpit was completely sheared and turned down. There is literally nothing more literal than a decapitation. It's the end of your head. You get it cut off, or you get the top of the plane, and 2 pilots passed away. So the good news is only 2 people died. The bad news is it was about death and corpses and decapitation. So that is exactly on a malefic star, the moon, ruler of Gunther. He passed away. There's Forrest here with the Mars Mercury storyline as well. Now, it happened in New York City, which is Manhattan, and that's right here. Manhattan is conjunct Pholos in Capricorn. Capricorn is institutional bodies like air traffic control, like the FAA, like things like that. So those governmental institutional bodies, Manhattan and Pholos. Pholos means a domino effect. Something is going to massively change. There's Gunther across the way, and there's the Pholos turning point effect. I don't know the name of the air traffic controller. I didn't put him in here, and I don't really want to. I can't imagine, if there was human error, how this person, this man, is a man's voice, must be feeling. I can't imagine being responsible for 2 people's deaths, but it's a bigger responsibility there too. There was a shift changeover. Maybe there was a bad handover. How many staff are there? Should there have been more? It was just starting the shift, I believe. I don't know. So I don't think the air traffic guy was tired. But you can see that there's going to be a domino effect around this story, likely leading to institutional change. And there's the other Gunther that I found. Don't forget Mackenzie Gunther, the other pilot. I think the guy flying the plane, like the real pilot, not the co-pilot. And Gunther is at 26 degrees of the sign. You can't see it, of Aquarius. But do you guys remember what happened at Aquarius? 27 degrees, 27, 28 degrees. Do you remember what happened here? On February 17th, there was an eclipse. So one of the pilots, Gunther, is on the eclipse that actually occurred. All right, that actually occurred on February 17th. That was a solar eclipse. It runs out for a year. So we see the eclipse energy for this Gunther, the pilot. We see the blood moon eclipse up here at 9 degrees, amplifying the stories and the reputation that would LaGuardia / Manhattan would incur, okay, that would happen at exactly the time of the crash. And it's just that it's Mars ruling this event, right? Mars was ruling what happened, because this is a Scorpio ascendant at the time of the actual crash. that it's Mars near water or in water with someone named Forrest. And there's the north node of fate at 7 degrees with Mercury, again, amplifying the eclipse that happened in Aquarius and also the eclipse that happened in Virgo, because the nodes are connected to the eclipse cycle. So the eclipse that happened here and the eclipse that happened here, the February eclipse, 17th at 27, 28 degrees, amplified the Gunther character. The eclipse that happened on March the 3rd, around 12 degrees of Virgo, right here, that's with an orb of the midheaven. So you see how destiny's playing out. I'm not trying to make this a story that is, to make us scared. It's just that life is about this kind of algorithmic codes of the sky. Like someone wrote a screenplay and this is the cheat sheet for it. Guardia, another one, I was trying to find LaGuardia. I found Guardia, but that doesn't show the whole word. That is going to be so close to that Pisces, that total solar eclipse on August the 12th at 20 degrees of Leo. So look for fallout from this story. Now, a strange thing about this story. Oh, and by the way, a little bit more. There's another Guardia. I tried to find Guardia. I found Guardia. And there's another story. This is Antoine, the name of the guy, right? Who the young bush pilot, co-pilot is Antoine Forrest. Antoine in Guardia, right? In the sign of Taurus with a shock and awe story of Uranus and the moon. So you see how that works. Literally, I didn't have like 30 Antoines or 30 Gunthers to choose from. I put all of the ones I could find. Only had 2 Guardias, only 2 Gunthers, only 2 Forrests, 1 Antoine. It's sad, but it's also maybe in a way we can't see yet, somewhat going to be positive, because you see this mini grand trine could bring something silver lining and good from this tragedy, like maybe a repair of the system that allows for these crashes to happen. And this little mini grand trine is pointing at Sun, Neptune, right? And Saturn here. So possibly there is a connection as well to something good trying to happen. It's an out of sign combination, so it's a little bit awkward. I hate when my software does this. I would say like look forward to, or look to when Uranus on the 3rd week of April, on the 26th of April, 27th of April, look to that time frame for a kind of re-triggering in the news cycle about, because it's going to, as Uranus crosses the sign boundary, we're going to get an in-sign mini trine. So look to the last week of April for some renewing of this story in some way. It's kind of really connected a lot to Antoine Forrest and Guardia. Now that could just be the family's going to sue somebody, who knows? But there's a little bit of that coming back from the dead. That story recovers itself or comes back into life. I should say come back from the dead is a darker way of saying it. Now, one thing about this is that we had the same accident on March the 22nd, 1992 on the same runway, but it was a plane's wings did not de-ice properly and it crashed and 27 people were killed. And I find that also just an eerie number as well, 34 years ago, because 34 years is a cycle in our sky that occurs when Saturn and Neptune co-join. And so if I was to take a quick look at that together, what did the sky look like 34 years ago? Because Saturn and Neptune just joined together in the sign of Aries. And there may be some entwinement with stories that on that energetic cycle. Let's take a look together at that. I hope I said that right, because my brain is exhausted. So it was 1989 that Neptune and Saturn co-joined in Capricorn. And I'm going to show you an interesting thing with Icarus, right? Planes. Let's take a really quick look at the actual chart of 1992, March 22nd. We're not going to set it for the time it happened in the airport, but let's just see where Icarus may have been, because Icarus is often connected to things that are always falling from the sky that shouldn't be falling from the sky, right? That we don't want to come down from the heavens and cause problems. And there's the, March 22nd, 1992, Icarus traveling with Saturn. Saturn is Lord of Time and Karma, Grim Reaper sometimes, and Mars accidents. Mars Saturn is never good. This is the beginning of a new Mars Saturn cycle for things to do with difficult circumstances that bring hardship connected to accidents and war and collisions and conflict. But here we have Icarus. So Icarus is definitely involved in another plane crashing from the sky narrative. And it's just as simple as that sometimes. We could say, where is Icarus in the sky? Is it close to something difficult? So we had Mars, Icarus, Mercury, North Node together in Pisces. And that's what happened this time. Now back then in LaGuardia, we have the same story. Now, I talked about the Neptune Saturn cycle. In 1992, we're coming off the cycle of 1989, in which there was a conjunction between Saturn and Neptune in Capricorn. So it's roughly 36 years, every 36 years. So there's that repeating vibe, but it's not really that. It's really just Icarus. So I guess if I have a lesson about this story, it's the devil is in the details, right? You got to keep watching those devil in the details stories where you're going to see repeating themes when you watch these asteroids. So planes falling, difficult circumstances, crashes, Icarus always involved. Also, I remember a few years ago, it was May of 2000, and I can't remember, 23 or 4. I talked about maybe a plane or a helicopter could go down. It was probably 2024, but it was the month of May. Icarus was doing something in the sky particularly gnarly. And it was actually the downing of a helicopter in a fog bank in Iran, of a major, like a general or a political figure. Of course, everyone thinks that crash was actually engineered by, intelligence agencies or whatever, but it did happen right around that time. So you can usually use Icarus to be careful not to fly, but you can't live your life as if you're going to go down in a plane crash just because Icarus is doing something gnarly in the sky, or no one was ever going to go anywhere. All right, that's what I have for you. That's just a look at how the minor asteroids work in the sky and why you should pay attention. Please go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification bell, come study my Divine Timing Masterclass from intermediate to advanced beginners, 5 weekends in May. And if you want to wait for Sky Reader this fall, we start up every September and we go for usually 6 weeks, but I think I'm extending it to 7 weeks this year to get a bit of a slower pace for some people to come up to speed. It's for beginners, but the slower the pace, the better I think it is for you guys. And so you can time your best life, right? And be your own astrologer. Thanks for listening. I'll see you guys in the next video.